What's going on, everyone? I'm Rudy Oliva, and you're watching Smoking the Barbecue. Are you thinking of getting a pellet grill, or maybe you just got one like a Z-Grills, but you don't know where to start? Well, then this video is for you, because the truth is, wood-fired barbecue doesn't have to be complicated anymore. This video is going to be a step-by-step guide on how to use a pellet grill. Step number one is going to be to fill your hopper with pellets. Make sure that you're using 100% hardwood pellets. There's some brands out there that say naturally flavored. You don't want to use that. You want to make sure that you're using good quality pellets. I would say at first, maybe do a competition blend. It's going to give you a safe and balanced flavor. Then later on, experiment with different types. Hickory is going to be a very strong barbecue flavor. Apple or cherry are going to be mild but sweet. And then mesquite is going to be very bold and smoky. I actually prefer hickory, or I do a hickory and oak blend. And a pro tip is to definitely keep your pellets dry. I keep mine in a bucket with a sealed lid. I don't want any moisture getting onto the pellets, because if they get wet, that'll cause auger jams, it'll cause bad combustion, just a whole bunch of problems that you don't want. So step two is only if this is your first time using the smoker, and what you want to do is you want to do a burn off just to get rid of any residues or oils from the factory. So what you want to do is you want to turn it on and put it to 400 degrees, let it run for about an hour, and then go ahead, turn it off, let it cool down, and you're ready to cook. Okay, so step number three is starting the grill, and every cook starts the same way, and that's with the lid open. What this does is it prevents you from overloading the barrel with smoke, and it also helps avoid a backdraft in the unit. That's why you always see us starting it with the lid open. All right, now just go ahead and turn the grill on and just let it be. It's gonna take about a minute or two before you start seeing smoke coming out. At first, it's gonna be heavy smoke, which is totally normal, and then it'll start dying out. Once the smoke is almost all gone, then you can go ahead and close the lid. Once your Z-Grills fires up, it automatically starts feeding pellets, and it ignites them using the hot rod, so that way you don't have to deal with the fire manually at all. That's one of the reasons why this is the easiest way to get into real wood-fired cooking. All right, so now we're at step four, which is to set your temperature based on what you're cooking. And this is where the Z-Grills really shines. With its PID 3.0 controller, it automatically adjusts pellet feed and airflow to keep your temperature steady. Unlike traditional smokers where you're constantly having to adjust vents and watching the fire, this just works. You just set it and then you walk away. All right, guys, so while we're on the topic of temperatures, let's talk about it real quick. I want to help you guys avoid some of the mistakes that I made in the beginning. So I'm going to run you real quick through what the general guidelines are for different cooks, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So generally, when you talk about smoking a brisket or a pork butt, the recommended settings are usually between 225 degrees to 350 degrees. Whenever you're cooking ribs, you want to be between 250 and 275. For chicken, you want to be between 275 and 325. For reverse searing a steak, you want to be between 450 and 500 until it sears, then bring it down to 225. And then finally, for burgers, you want to be between 350 and 450. Now, again, these are guidelines, but I think it's up to you to kind of see, first of all, how much smoke flavor you want in your food and how your smoker performs at certain temperatures. When I first did a brisket on my Z-Grills, I completely messed it up. Totally my fault, because I tried running my Z-Grills the same as I run my offset. I set it at 225. I put my brisket there with the fat cap up on the bottom rack, and I just let it ride. And what ended up happening was the brisket cooked before the fat even rendered. It was tough. I mean, it was just horrible. I ended up having to throw it away. And I mean, let's be honest, brisket's a little expensive to be thrown away nowadays. So what I learned from that is you can't go wrong with going lower. My last brisket that I did, which I actually did a video for, I did at 195, and I did it on the top rack. Now my next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it at 190, and I'm going to do it with the fat cap down. And then once I get to the point where I want to wrap it, then I'm going to bump the temperature up to 250 once it's wrapped. I think that for this Z-Grills, that's just what works. And it's up to you guys to kind of figure it out. So also what I would do until you kind of get the hang of it, I would start out, if it's your first cook, I would do a pork butt. It's one of the easiest things to do. You almost can't mess it up. And it's a very forgiving piece of meat and much less expensive than ruining a brisket. So hopefully this helps you guys out. And if you have any questions, you can definitely let me know in the comments. Now let's move on. All right, so step number 5 is to just go ahead and add the meat. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 meat thermometer probes and you're going to plug them into each one of these ports. So this way, like if you're doing a brisket, you can put one in the point, one in the flat, and you can just leave them in the whole cook. That way you can monitor it without having to open the lid. So what you can do is you can check the temperature, you can adjust the temperature, and because of the smart Wi-Fi feature, You can do all of this, control the whole cook right from your phone. Step number 6 is going to be the cook. And all you're going to do is let the smoker do the work for you. Just set it and forget it, and try not to open the lid too often, because as the saying goes, if you're checking, you're not cooking. Okay, so now we're at step 7, which is the finish and shutdown. Hopefully whatever you cooked turned out great. You pulled it off the grill, you put it to rest. Now you go ahead and you press the power button to turn it off, and it's gonna go into a shutdown mode. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna hear that fan continue running for about 5 minutes, and then it's gonna shut down on its own. You can leave the lid closed the entire time, but it's very important that you don't unplug it early. Once it's done, it'll shut down, and then you're done, and you can go ahead and unplug it. After every cook, guys, make sure that you clean your grill grates however you want, with a brush or whatever method you want to use. And also check your grease tray below and make sure that that's clean. Also, you can go ahead and top off your pellets, or if you want to clear them out, Z-Grills has this clean out port in the back of the hopper. Every 2 to 4 cooks, you want to clean this deflector plate, and you also want to vacuum out the ash from the burn pot. And also all this ash around here, I just brush that into the ash catcher here in the end, and I empty that out. Okay guys, so before I wrap the video up, let's talk about some of the common mistakes that people make with pellet grills. And that is not priming the auger for the first use, starting with the lid closed, which I'm actually guilty of in the beginning, using wet pellets, not cleaning out the ash, opening the lid too often for sure is a big one, and ignoring grease buildup. So some smoke control tips, guys, and I went over some of these earlier, but just to recap, if you want more smoke flavor, definitely use a lower temperature, use a stronger wood like hickory or mesquite. And once you kind of get the hang of it and you get more to an advanced level, you can also experiment using a smoke tube. Now let's briefly talk about Z-Grill's performance in different weather conditions. So if it's cold, it can still maintain a temperature. If it's windy, it's got a fan controlled system, so that's not an issue either. And if it's raining, you just got to make sure that you keep those pellets dry. At the end of the day, Z-Grills makes real wood-fired barbecue simple, consistent, and accessible. With over 30 years of manufacturing experience, it delivers the performance you need without the premium price tag. You just set it and forget it, and then you enjoy the results. If you've been thinking about getting into pellet grilling, this is honestly one of the simplest and smartest ways to start. Check out the link below to see the latest deals, and that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.